We are on air.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California non-corporate, non-profit mutual benefit corporation. Tuesday, April 6, 2021, at 9:30 a.m. The office is at 24351 El Toro Road, Laguna Woods, California. This is a virtual meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct regular Golden Rain Foundation board meeting in accordance with the Civil Code 4930 and was hereby authorized in accordance with Civil Code 4920. Do we have a quorum? I went down the list and I do believe we have. So with that being taken care of, I would like to have Director Hopkins do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any media present? If there is media, please announce yourself. Okay, then I would like to call for the approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Yes. Thank you, Maggie. May I have a second, please?
I second it.
Any opposition? So the motion, the agenda is approved. I'd like to call for approval of the minutes. First of all, for the agenda prep of the open meeting on February 18th and the March 2nd, 2021 regular open meeting. Could I have approval of the minutes? Does anyone have any changes? Is there any opposition to approval of the meeting minutes? That being the case, then the minutes are accepted.
By unanimous consent.
By unanimous consent. Thank you, John. A report from the chair. I've got so many things going on, I don't have a special report for us today, so I will leave that to perhaps as we get along in our discussions later. VMS, first we'd like to address the VMS Recognition of Excellence Awards. I suppose Jeff or Shaban will take that.
Good morning. This morning we are pleased to share the VMS Recognition of Excellence Awards. These awards recognize VMS employees whose performance is top-notch and most deserving of recognition. This morning we will be recognizing excellence in the CEO's office, landscape, recreation, human resources, and information services. And we have a video of the awards presentation that Grant will put on the screen for you. Thank you. is my honor to present the Excellence Award to Grant Schultz, Assistant Corporate Secretary. Since the pandemic significantly altered operations last March, Grant has been instrumental to the organization. He quickly became the go-to person for virtual committee and board meetings and learned the GoToMeeting application. Grant's efforts, creativity, and willingness to help has allowed our governance structure to flourish during these difficult and virtual times. Grant has even come into the board meeting on his days of remote working to troubleshoot technical issues for other departments. Grant also regularly provides technical assistance to board members and others as needed. It is for these reasons and Grant's commitment to exemplary customer service that I'm honored to present this award to you this morning on behalf of the CEO's office and the organization. Thank you so much, Grant.
Grant, I just wanted to add just a couple words of congratulations, and we have a certificate for you there. I want to recognize you, just as Siobhan just indicated, of your participation and your excellence in customer service, not only to us in the organization, because you really do that in setting up the board meetings and running the operation relative to that, but also directly to the board members. I get a lot of positive feedback about how you work with them, make sure they're on our GoToMeeting. It's difficult now that we're doing a lot of broadcasts, but your participation with them to make sure that they're comfortable is what has made you outstanding service to the organization and to the board. So congratulations on your award.
Good morning. These gentlemen have made significant improvement in the efficiency, productivity of their crews over the last year. Their leadership and can-do attitude are contagious. They have successfully motivated their crews to production levels unseen for many years. Even though they worked through the entire pandemic outside in the summer heat working in masks, with masks, each one of these gentlemen have met all and exceeded the goals set for them in the beginning of the year, despite challenges, obstacles that this year brought. And I would like to thank them. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Great job. So this is Vicente Martinez, Filberto Castro, Alfredo Castro, Jose Vargas. Supervisors are Jay Nemechek, Jose Luis Lopez. So I'd like to thank everybody before I leave. I want to thank our boss, Kurt. He's made a lot of changes that's made us all this happen. So thank you, Kurt. Appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen, once more.
Well, good morning, fellow employees, board directors. It's that time of the year again where we want to recognize those employees that have done an outstanding job, not only within our organization, but also with our department, working with residents. And we have two outstanding employees here with us today from the Recreation Department. First off, it's Chuck Rausch and Miguel Magdaleno. And we would like to congratulate them on their efforts, their commitment, not only to the community, but also within the department here in Laguna Woods Village. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to the managers directly, Tom McCrae and Jennifer Murphy, and to give a little background history on each of these outstanding and fantastic employees.
Thank you, Brian. What can I say about Charles? We call him Chuck Rausch. Between him and the team down there, Chuck has been a leader in keeping the place open, keeping it operating, especially during these troubling times. Chuck is one of the most dynamic employees that I think I've ever had. He can go from being a customer service agent on one of the T's, starting people, presenting a friendly face, and like, for example, after that yesterday, I said, Chuck, the ball washer is broken. There's lots of different examples of this, but yesterday was another glaring one. The ball washer was broken, it was seized up. Chuck came in early for his shift with his tools from home, and went up there and got it to the point where he did need some help to do it, but he identified where the problem was, and now we're back up and running. Between him and his cohort, Steve Edwards, they've been able to keep all of us running. It's amazing what he's done. All the tee markers on the golf course are maintained by Chuck, were built by Chuck, painted by Chuck, and when the paint rubs away, he takes it upon himself to make sure that they're always standing tall. Chuck is a very prideful person, and he takes ownership of his position, and I do not know where I would be without him. Chuck, thank you very much.
I would like to present the Employee Recognition of Excellence Award to Miguel Magdaleno. He is our Clubhouse 5 and 6 Recreation Coordinator. He's been with the company for over 6 years. He was nominated by a fellow teammate, and I would like to read their statement. Miguel has always been an exceptional employee. When we opened the pools back up, Miguel was instrumental in taking all of the phone reservations. In the beginning, he was taking at least 100 calls per day. On his own, no complaints. He is always willing to step up and take on tasks whenever needed. He can always be counted on to complete any task assigned and goes above and beyond. Miguel always keeps a cool head even when stressed. He is even able to de-escalate situations with his calm nature. He is loved and respected by both his fellow staff and our residents. When Miguel recently took some time off that was well-deserved, we got lots of residents calling and saying, "Where is he? When will he be back?" So with this, we reward him with this, and we thank him for his work. Recreation employees pride themselves on having a service heart. It's something that we possess usually in this department. We love to give, and Miguel definitely possesses that. A recent comment from a resident stated, "I want to give Miguel a shout out. He is a wonderful employee for you. He takes his job seriously and performs well, is quite helpful, and really nice to deal with." We receive comments like this from about Miguel all the time. I would say in the last year, he's probably our most praised employee from both staff and residents. I reached out to his coworkers and I said, if you could describe him in one word, what would it be? And this is what I got back. Responsive, committed, meticulous, cooperative, unstoppable, diligent, superstar, invaluable, helpful, reliable, attentive, generous, responsible, kind-hearted, respectful, problem solver. Miguel, the village is fortunate to have you. Your coworkers are fortunate to have you as a team member, and I am thankful to have you as well. Congratulations, keep up the good work.
Hello, my name is Carrie Weldon. I'm the Director of Human Resources. I'd like to introduce Gabby Espinoza. Today we're going to talk about the Recognition of Excellence Award. It's very important that we recognize our employees, and I'd like to recognize Gabby. Gabby has done an outstanding job with the COVID crisis and is the point of contact for all of the VMS employees. Gabby schedules the COVID tests and does contact tracing to follow up with other employees who have been in contact with an employee who tested positive. She schedules the deep cleaning for the affected areas. She handles all the concerned employees in a very fast-paced environment, in addition to her regular job of being an HR generalist and providing all the benefits and 401k for everyone. She's an extraordinary person to be able to handle the difficult situations faced by this pandemic. Gabby is very well respected by the employees and is an important member of the HR team. Gabby, I'd like to thank you very much for your dedication, and we're very fortunate to have you. You are a hero to our village. Thank you. I wanted to give you an award.
Welcome to the Employee Recognition Awards. My name is Chuck Holland. I'm the Information Services Director here at Laguna Woods Village, and we're here today to recognize a couple of our standout employees for the fourth quarter of 2020. And so what we have here is Amy Rosales and Patricia Mance, and they work in our data entry department in the Information Services department, if you will. They're instrumental in taking all of our documentation that we have out in the field, all of our field work orders, service orders, field staff assignments, and so on and so forth, inventory transfer withdrawal forms, and getting all the information and prepping it and getting it into our on-base system and ultimately into our accounting system. Well, we'd like to recognize Amy and Patricia for just an amazing job that they had done for us as it relates to our malware environment. We had a malware attack in October 16th of 2020 that knocked all of our systems offline. And Amy and Patricia really rolled up their sleeves, lend the IT team a hand to help us collect all these PCs, help us organize all this stuff to keep us on track while we're trying to rebuild our systems. And then once we were able to, we were offline for 6 weeks, and all of our service orders in the field were backlogged by a couple of months. So in order for us to collect and catch up all on that work, Patricia and Amy worked around the clock for the whole entire month of December, and they processed almost 10,000 service orders and staff assignments, inventory withdrawals into the system over the time frame, which is absolutely amazing. The reason why I wanted to recognize the two ladies for their award is because people don't realize is how important getting all that information into the system is, because we needed to close year-end financials. So we had 2 months worth of backlog work orders that if we wouldn't be able to close the year-end financials unless all that was processed. So Patricia and Amy, I want to thank you guys very much. Outstanding effort, a job well done. Your guys' commitment and can-do attitude was a great reflection, not only for the MIS department, but for VMS as a whole. So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Anything you'd like to say? Oh, the awards. Okay. So here is Patricia. Congratulations on a job well done. Okay, and here we are, Amy. And again, congratulations on the job well done. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, well, thank you for those awards, and thank you to all the employees for working so hard in order to earn those awards. I would like now to go to the CEO report, which is the COVID-19 tier presentation. Beth?
Yes, Egon, and good morning to the board. I had a couple of quick notes that I wanted to say thank you to the board members that participated in our budget presentations that we had the last couple of weeks. We were able to introduce all of the departments and their budgets and give you some insight with regards to the overall perspective of those in our organization and how it's broken up into our departments. I think it was a very good starting point for how we move into the 2022 budgetary process, which will begin early in summer. So I want to thank you for participating and asking great questions, and of course, thanking to my staff for the hard work in getting that all put together. I also wanted to mention, and a thank you to Egon and to the board, and recognizing our employees and some of our great outstanding employees. This unfortunately we couldn't do it in face-to-face using the technology that we have, but their dedication and compassion and their quality of services is something to be recognized. And I know from Siobhan and I, we greatly appreciate all our employees and what they do. And it's nice to be able to show you via this video that TV6 put together, that Paul and the group up there put together. So thank you to everybody. And again, thank you to our organization. On going on to COVID, we have Brian here to do a little presentation. I wanted to mention that, and Brian will talk about it, we moved into the orange category with regards to Orange County. We were in the red for quite a long time, and we have continued to move in a very positive note. Hospitalizations as of today are down to only 109 throughout Orange County and only 16 ICU cases. So that's a tremendous drop in the numbers of hospitalization and ICU throughout Orange County. So that's showing the vaccination, the wearing a mask, social distancing, all of those things in combination are working pretty well to move us in the right direction. And relative to the Laguna Woods, the city of, and which we're obviously a key part of, our numbers continue to stay pretty constant. We did have an uptick of a couple, but we're still very low with regards to our overall numbers in the year that has gone by relative to COVID. So moving on to the orange, it gives us an opportunity to start evaluating and moving forward with reopening of some of our activities. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian so he can give you a little bit of information on where we're headed.
Thank you, Jeff. And good morning, board directors, Mr. President. And I think we have a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to be bringing up here. Is that correct, Grant?
Yes, one moment.
So while we're waiting, I can kind of give a little background. This is the presentation, a similar presentation that I did for the VMS board a few weeks ago. And we've kind of utilized this presentation to also communicate with the community in regards to updating them and letting them know kind of what our game plan is in regards to introducing new programs and activities as we move down to the orange tier. And go ahead and go to the next slide, Grant. So as you guys all know, we pretty much follow the standard state and county guidelines with the different tiers. We have the purple tier, the red tier, the orange tier, and the yellow tier. When we actually developed this PowerPoint presentation, we were in the purple tier, and we quickly moved to the red tier, and now we're in the orange tier, which is, of course, great news. It allows us to open up more activities and facilities and offer more programs. And so we're going to be looking at the different sectors. If you look down underneath the gray box, it says outdoor playgrounds and outdoor recreational facilities. Of course, we don't have any playgrounds, but we do have outdoor recreational facilities. So go ahead and go to the next slide, Grant. So some of these programs that you see here listed were offered during the purple and the red tier. On the next slide, we'll go into the orange, more specific into the orange tier. But just to recap real quick, so we're currently offering spin cycling classes. The pools are open. We have the racket sports such as tennis, pickleball, and paddle tennis. The equestrian center is, was or has been open for boarders only, and also volunteers to help us out manage that facility. Lawn bowling, bocce ball, the library with its outdoor pickup service and drop-off service has been in operation the entire time. And then here's a couple new things, sharing of golf carts, which we allowed now. So it's no longer a single rider per golf cart. It's actually, you can have two people in one golf cart, which is obviously more efficient and more cost-effective for our golfers. We also opened the hot pools, and we opened the riding program. And we did have the yoga and meditation aerobics classes the entire time. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So here's some of the things that we currently offered in the orange tier. And we're allowing groups of golfers up to 5. We did add additional Zumba classes. The pickleball doubles is now allowed without consent, and that was actually allowed in the red tier. And we did open up the arts and crafts studios over at Clubhouse 4. We do have to rely on the volunteers to assist us in regards to opening those specific rooms. So some of them are not, quite open yet, but we did open the wood shop yesterday, in addition to the art studio, and we have people in the slip casting ceramics prepping those facilities to get them open. So slowly but surely, we're opening our facilities. We're looking to offer some painting classes, which would still be outdoor, an outdoor bingo program, which is starting next Monday. And then also looking to introduce some lecture series and continue doing our golf cart parades, offering personal training, some dancing classes, not necessarily dancing like, people getting together and just dancing for the fun of it, but it's actually instructional dancing. We're also looking to open the pool locker rooms probably within a couple of weeks. That's one of those things where we still have to do some prep work. We have actually a lot of the pool furniture stored in those locker rooms, so we have to relocate those out and clean the locker rooms and so forth, and then open that up to the public. Special interest classes like the ESL program that we've had that has been very successful, and then also looking to reopen the library on a limited basis, of course. Although we're still waiting on a few things there. We do need to get some plexiglass in place to protect the volunteers that work there. So we're in the process of getting that completed, and once that's done, then we can look at reopening the library again on a limited basis. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Now we're going to look at the gyms and the fitness centers. Go to the next slide. So currently in the orange tier, the indoor gym could be at a 25% capacity. And that is what we have done. We've opened the inside up to about 4 or 5, actually 7 people, I'll take that back. And in addition to still maintaining the Clubhouse One Breezeway gym in conjunction with the indoor offerings. And indoor is primarily just cardio equipment. That's where the treadmills are, and that's some of the equipment that a lot of people have been asking for and requesting. We weren't really able to move that outside simply because of the weather concerns, and obviously it has to be plugged in and all that kind of thing. So we're excited for that, and I know a lot of people are anxiously waiting to get inside and use those pieces of equipment. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And then movie theaters, not that we necessarily have a movie theater, but we have a performing arts center, and we do have very large ballrooms. So right now we're looking at introducing a weekly movie, either at the PAC or at Clubhouse 5. Unfortunately, right now, both facilities are actually kind of quasi under construction, especially over at the PAC with the lighting renovation, in addition to the HVAC system and all that. So we're looking at Clubhouse 5. However, we're still working on the tech booth, which was actually, we had a theft last summer where somebody broke in and they took all the equipment out of the tech booth. And so we're in the process of updating that and replacing. All the equipment is replaced. We're just doing the final touches. So hopefully within a few weeks, we can offer some movies over there. And I think that would be a great hit, especially as we transition into the summer months. And with the warmer weather, I know people like to be indoors a little bit, but you can see under the orange tier, we can be at a 50% capacity. So go ahead and go to the next slide. Actually, we kind of talked about that right now. So let's go ahead and skip to the next slide. Card rooms. So card rooms is really more or less the bridge room. And we can go to the next slide, Grant. And we're currently working with the Bridge Club. They're kind of getting organized and reaching out to their members and kind of get a feel of how many people want to come back in. But that is something that we can offer as well. And looking at the room capacity over there, we're looking at about 50 patrons. So like I said, we're working with the Bridge Club actively and seeing when we can reestablish some programs over there at Clubhouse 7. Go to the next slide, please. Restaurants, so restaurant 19. You can see under the orange tier is a max capacity of 50% or 200 people or less. Not that we can fit 200 people over there, but it would be 50% at the normal capacity. I'm going to go to the next slide. And a lot of this really is operator dependent and really at the operator's discretion. Since we have a contract with Tony over there, he has a very conservative approach in regards to reopening. And, so it's really up to his discretion when we can, or when he feels is a good time to reopen indoor dining. So we'll kind of have to wait and see what his game plan is on that. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Retail. Okay, not that we have retail stores here, but we do have some retail programs and events such as the Village Bazaar, the arts and crafts events where outdoor selling is allowed. We have a farmer's market, and so we're looking to offer some of those programs and activities very, very soon. If you go to the next slide, Grant. So the Village Bazaar, Bonanza, Art Fair, Health and Resource Fair, and then the Farmers Market in July. And we're looking to offer the Village Bazaar in June. And I know we're already kind of gearing up for that and getting the information ready, and that we can, get it out to the communities so people are aware of it. And that will be really the first offering that we're going to be having. The Bonanza is typically in November, but we'll see once we kind of get it up and running over at Clubhouse 4 and people are, starting to do some of their crafts and their art pieces. We'll see about offering that sooner than in November. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So I think a lot of this, obviously is reliant on limitations in regards to what we can do and how quickly we can do things. So I really kind of want to set the tone and the expectations. Of course, the first thing is the tiers and the guidance may change. As you may be aware that in Europe, there's another surge happening right now. I don't know what the impact is going to be here. And I know there's some talk amongst the various news channels and doctors. Hopefully our vaccine, distribution is really effective, and that we can really, keep that thing, keep the virus at bay and not have another resurgence. But we have to keep a close eye on that and really make a proper assessment and be prepared of potential guidance changes. In addition to that, we have some limited staff resources right now. We did lay off quite a few of the part-time staff last August. And from talking to our recruiter, there's certainly some challenges out there where people are simply not applying for jobs. And I have a feeling part of that reason is the stimulus that they're receiving, in addition to the extended unemployment benefits that they're receiving. There's very little incentive for part-time people to come back. However, we will be diligent and we'll continue to work and recruit as quickly as possible. But I do want to set that expectation out there that there are some challenges, and we'll definitely try to work through them as quickly as possible. I also want to give a quick update on the Emeritus program. So from discussions with the Emeritus Director and also the President of Saddleback College, it looks like they're not really planning on offering in-person classes until 2022. So their plan is to stick with the virtual programs that they've been offering for the last year, and they've had some pretty good success with that. So it looks like they will be making some changes even beyond 2022, where some of the programs and classes will be will stay virtual. Of course, if it's an in-person class, such as over at Clubhouse 4, where it's a studio time and lab time and different things like that, that's going to have to be done in person. But again, they're not looking to come back at least until 2022. So that concludes my presentation for the time being, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I do want to say that this is something that we'll be, obviously updating as the tiers change and we get down to the yellow tier. There will be less restriction, and we offer more programs, activities, and so forth. So, which is very exciting, and I know it's something our community is definitely longing for.
Thank you, Brian. You may probably have to post some of those numbers on the gym and other places, because they're 50% here and 25% there. And so that's kind of a lot of interesting stuff going on. Well, thank you for that very large report.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Director Garthofner, we do have resident questions on the presentation, if you'd like to take those at this time.
Absolutely.
All right. The first question is from Judith Troutman. It is a written question, so I'll read it here. This says, this is Judith with a message cue for Brian. It says, I am a member of Pet Partners for Therapeutic Animals. Do we have any therapeutic horse partners?
Not yet. We're actually working on a therapeutic program. And, there's obviously certain licenses and different agreements that need to be put in place. So our new equestrian supervisor is diligently working on that. And we're kind of working through the insurance requirements right now. but we are looking to be offering a therapeutic, program over at the equestrian facility.
Thank you. Our next
Thank you, Brian.
question is from from Richard Rader. I will move him to panelist.
Hi, Brian.
Hello, Mr. Rader.
I had 3 questions for you, so maybe you'll mark them down.
Okay.
The first has to do with social distancing. I'm assuming that the reason you are restricting attendance to 50% or 25% capacity is just that. But when you open it up for bazaars or health fair things, how do you maintain social distancing, or are you going to maintain social distancing? Because in these cases, a large number of people attend and they're mobile, as opposed to when they go inside to view a movie or a lecture or whatever, they're sitting. Second question, is there any notion to limit attendance particularly inside buildings, to people who have been vaccinated? Third question, will we require masks no matter what affair, whether indoor or outdoor?
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. So the social distancing capacity is established by the state and in the county level. For outdoor events, which is currently allowed, I mean, there's a food market over at the Laguna Hills Mall that's been ongoing for several months now. And really, we have to obviously educate the vendors who are going to be present to let them know that they have to maintain that 6-foot distance at all times, and the masks are going to be required for those events. I'm not sure, the limitation of the capacity in regards to those events. That's something we have to definitely make sure that we follow. Again, we're going to be just, strictly following the state and the county guidelines and their recommendations on how to effectively establish an event like that. Of course, this will be the first event like this for us, and there's definitely some homework we have to do and make sure that we're following all the proper protocols. In regards to limiting attendance, if people are vaccinated, so the vaccination doesn't give people immunity to the virus. So we certainly do want to maintain all the social parameters, distancing parameters in place. And that would include wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart and all that, even when we have indoor events. And that's why the state is kind of opting to go with a percentage base in each different tier, depending on the activity. It could be 25%, 50%, and so forth, to make sure that social distancing is always in place. And the vaccination doesn't necessarily prevent the virus. It basically weakens the virus to make people, or provide the ability for people to fight it off without getting seriously ill and perhaps dying from it. So I think that's an important thing for people to remember, that the vaccine doesn't prevent the virus. It just basically minimizes it. And to answer your question in regards to masks, yes, masks will be required for as long as the state and the county issue those guidance and issue those recommendations.
All right, that is the resident questions.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
So we have item number 9, open forum. This is 3 minutes per speaker. This time members only may address the board of directors regarding items not on the agenda and within jurisdiction of the board of directors. The board reserves the right to limit total amount of time allotted to open forum. Members can attend the meeting by joining the Zoom link, https://zoom.us/J/98131257242, or by calling 949-268-2020, or email meeting@vmsinc.org to request to speak. Do we have any people who are waiting to speak?
Honorable Chair, we have one email that we've received from Janine Braden. She lives at 199 Avenida Mallorca. Can we now start opening small venues? You should check shop cards or take temperatures. We can start gathering without masks or social distancing. We the residents need the communication that we have been getting on Nextdoor. We do have the right to freedom of speech. Board members should be communicating with us. We pay to be represented, not to have things going the way they have been. I'm not happy, just like many others I have talked to. And that's all we received by email.
Thank you, Eileen. Let me make a comment on that in a way and also pass it on. That's one of the things that we have skipped so far is by small menus, I'm assuming you mean small group meetings and things like that. Brian, has the state in the tiers that they've put out so far addressed the question of club meetings?
Yeah, they have. In gatherings, up to 3 households are still currently permitted, regardless of what tier you're in. And any type of gathering inside is not encouraged at this time.
So what will we have to go to, the moon, in order to... Sorry to be funny, but the lady obviously is expressing her dissatisfaction with what's going on, and we haven't heard anything. And we've been having meetings again with the club boards, and they're all very interested to see if something could be on the horizon, say for September.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the current trend continues and we get past the yellow tier, I think that's really when we can consider reopening some of our facilities. So essentially, that would mean the green tier, which means that primarily the virus is no longer prevalent and really not a threat. But for the time being, in the orange and even in the yellow tiers, it's highly discouraged to have any indoor gatherings of really any more than 3 households.
Well, that essentially means nothing to us. Does nothing to do with you, Brian, obviously.
Yeah.
Would any other board member like to comment on the lady's question?
Chair Garthoffner, we do still have a resident question for open forum.
Go ahead.
All right. This is Richard Rader once more. I will move him to panelist.
Mr. Rader?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Did you hear my initial comment? No. Okay. I was saying that one of the things that we have to be cognizant of is the fact that the coronavirus undergoes mutations, and you can have variants that occur that are more virulent, can spread more rapidly, and cause more severe disease. So to allow people who are unvaccinated to congregate, I think that's something that needs to be considered. And as a population that is at risk, rather than more at risk than the general population, I would ask that at some point the board consider that and reconsider whether people who are unvaccinated not be allowed in until they get vaccinated. There are a fair number of people that I'm aware of myself who resist vaccination.
Thank you. Anybody have any comment on Richard's statement?
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
Chair.
Speak up.
Okay, good. Can you hear me? I wanted to comment on the first speaker. First of all, the information from next door sometimes is not reliable. I think it's important that we understand that that's a good forum for getting information from person to person, but it's not checked. It's not a vetted social media. In fact, it's a for-profit social media, and it costs quite a lot of money to have an account on it. The city of Tustin has an account. Car sales are beginning to have accounts. I think you need to be careful where you get your information from. And as far as freedom of speech is concerned, the board members must speak as one voice. So we speak for policy. And if you're getting information of opinion on another place, please check it through the board, through our website. There are many ways to check the information that is gotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Okay, if there are no further comments, I'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board in one motion or by one motion. In the event an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such items shall be subject to further discussion and action by the board. We have one such item here, and we have the recommendation from the Finance Committee consistent with the statutory obligations and subcommittee of the board consisting of a treasurer and at least one other board member reviewed and approved the Golden Rain Foundation financials for the month of February. By this vote, ratify that such review be confirmed in this month's board members' open session meeting minutes. Do I have such a recommendation?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move we accept the consent calendars.
Any objection? No objection, then we'll accept the consent calendar with unanimous agreement. Unfinished business, number 12. Entertain a motion to adopt a resolution pertaining to the distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods. February initial notification, 28-day notification for member review and comment to comply with Civil Code 4360 has been satisfied. Can we have a motion to accept?
I need to read the resolution, sir.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm sorry.
Chair.
Okay, which one is it?
It's resolution, it's 12A.
Oh, let me see. Is it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Okay. Resolution 9. Shall I read?
Yes, please.
Okay. Resolution 90-21XX, distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods Village. Whereas the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, GRF, adopted a policy applicable to the distribution of all First Amendment publications within Laguna Woods Village by non-residents. And whereas the board recognizes the need to revise distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods Village resolution to reflect current insurance requirements. Now, therefore, be it resolved April 6, 2021, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the revised distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolved further that Resolution 9015-17, adopted March 3rd of 2015, is hereby suspended in its entirety and canceled, and resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move we accept this resolution.
And I have a second to that motion.
I second it.
Thank you, Yvonne. Is there any objection to this resolution? Any discussion first?
Yeah.
Is there any objection to the resolution?
No.
There's no objection, then we'll adopt the resolution. Thank you. Okay. So there's no new business. The board will take a 5-minute break if needed. Does anybody feel like they need a bit of a break?
Yes, please. Yes.
Let's take 5 minutes then. So we'll come back at 10:27. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your Enter your participant ID followed by pound. You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
Yeah, if you got something going in there, I don't see
Here it
anything.
is. Here it is.
Oh, it's in the, okay,
Chat
it's in the Q&A. It's not in the chat. No, wait a
Mine
minute.
says chat.
Okay, let me go to chat.
Egon, we're all set. Thank you for your patience.
So he did not get a finish to comment on that last resolution?
Right, and he didn't get called on because maybe he didn't see his hand. What do we do now?
Well, we can
Maybe
see
he
if he
just
had
wants
something
to
pertinent to say, especially since
okay.
we're at a pause. Dick,
Right.
do you have something pertinent to say via the resolution to deliver after non-residents deliver publications in Laguna Woods? Do you have a comment on that?
Dick, did you hear? Dick keeps calling on you. Dick? Dick, he's calling on you. There he is. Okay. He's online.
Okay, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Unmute.
Okay.
Dick.
What just happened is an indication of what has happened to me, perhaps to others. You raise your hand, and for whatever reason, it doesn't get seen. So in this case, it's particularly important because I wanted to raise some important points regarding the resolution that was just passed, and now it's passed. And now, what good are my thoughts? So I would like to present my thoughts, and I hope that the committee might reconsider what they just passed. How do you want me to proceed?
What's your thoughts?
Okay. What you just passed, as far as I could tell, is going to eliminate telephone book distribution. In fact, you're shaking your head? Well, let me tell you what my thought is. It doesn't eliminate the distribution. What it will do is the telephone books will die. And let me tell you why. First of all, the question, let me backtrack. What is the reason for this resolution? It came about because there was concern that the telephone book was being distributed without getting proper permission from the village. There's no question they should get proper permission to do so. You don't need a resolution for that. But anyway, I go along with that. But the second reason was that the telephone books were piling up in certain areas. They weren't being distributed to each door. There's a simple resolution to that. You simply tell the distributors that they have to distribute them to each door, not pile them up. So now we have a resolution which can eliminate the phone books, of which I can tell you there are many people, perhaps some on the board, who have told me that they want the phone book. And I do too. And there are others who have said they want it. So here's the deal. The telephone distribution is not specific requests by residents. Our resolution says publications must be specifically requested by residents. Telephone books are not a request. They are distributed to every door. And the reason to distribute it at every door is because the telephone book depends on advertising, and the advertisers expect that they will have maximum distribution. If you have it only by request, the advertisers are going to see that they're not getting full exposure in the village. And
The
they will
host would
drop
like you to
off the
unmute your
advertising,
microphone.
and that's
You can
will
press
kill
star
the
6
telephone book.
to
They
unmute.
will not be able to publish it anymore. That's item 1. So therefore, I say that there's nothing wrong with the resolution. I would just simply eliminate this statement that says publications must be specifically requested by residents. And there may be other examples other than telephone books.
The host would
whereby
like you to unmute
people
your microphone. You can press star 6
you don't have to
to
request
unmute.
them in order to be distributed. I think that's too restrictive. The second point I would make is the following. If you eliminate the publication specifically requested by residents,
You are
you
unmuted.
still have the situation where you have control
Director
over
Garthofner,
whoever comes.
3 minutes have expired.
May I continue?
Go ahead, make it brief, please.
Yes. You want to restrict who can distribute material in the village. By eliminating the specific requested by resident thing, you still have everybody must obtain permission by submitting an application if they want to distribute things. They have to follow applicable rules, and there's a long list of them in the resolution, and they have to fill all these steps. But there's one important point that I want to point out. Your resolution right now will potentially cut off newspaper distribution. The reason I say that is that I believe that the people who distribute the newspapers are independent contractors. The independent contractor, I believe you should have gone to the newspaper distributors. It's not the LA Times. It's a newspaper distributing separate company, I believe. And if that's the case, you should have gone to them and determined whether they're going to provide the commercial liability insurance, because I don't think that the people who are distributing, who are independent contractors, have the wherewithal to get that insurance. I think it's extremely important before you go on with this resolution that resolve that issue. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Dick. Yes, Joan.
may I answer?
Please do.
Dick, this was discussed last month, and I need to let you know that the phone books are really an exception to this rule in a way, because they are requested by everybody in the phone book. That's the way it works. So it was part of our discussion last month, and the intent is not to apply this totally to the phone books. However, neither phone book company has been complying in the past. And as a matter of fact, neither of them have applied right now for distribution. But in any case, this does not, they are simply an exception to the rule. And they are certainly welcome when they apply. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I noticed in this resolution, it does not say that they have to be requested. I thought we covered that last time around. And then the real naughty question is insurance.
Right, and probably the companies themselves are insured, but they have to give us proof. That's all that's required. And
Okay, thank you for clearing that up, John. Okay, thank you for clearing that up. As we always say, we do have to, we have a chance to vote, but we can't. One vote can't override everyone. Okay, so that being the case, now,
Egon,
are we ready for the presentation?
Egon, you have Maggie that's trying to speak.
Yeah, see, I'm looking up, and first of all, I don't see everybody's name. I see 6 or 7 names. So I have to. Okay, Maggie. Grant, can you put 2 rows of pictures on the thing? Because I only see, from myself over to Shaban, everybody. That's all. The only directors I see are Joan and.
Keep clicking the view. Keep clicking the view up in the top right until you get one.
I'll see what I can do. Okay, now I've blinded out everything else, but I see you now. Okay, Maggie, please go. Thank you, and please go on with your.
Yes, this was my concern, and I expressed it to Joan. The very first paragraph says only materials, publications specifically requested by residents may be distributed to residents. That is in the first paragraph. So whether or not we've been ignoring it, that is in the minute, in it. We are voting on it. That is in it. And look at number A subscriber list showing names of residents who have solicited the publication. That is in it. That has always been in it, and that is in it. At any time, GRF may say, okay, no more phone books. So this was my real concern, because thousands of people use the phone book and need it. And I was assured that that would never be enforced, but it is in it. If we strike those two things, then all is okay. You can require insurance, whatever. But you cannot print this. That is not abiding by this resolution. So if I was assured that those two would not be followed, but
phone books are
there is no wording in here that says phone books are exempt from this policy.
Oh boy. Why don't you
Yeah.
ask Eileen? The phone books are an exception, and we know that. The phone books are an exception in two ways. First of all, everybody in the phone book who's listed in the phone book are the requesters for the phone book. That's the understood part. They don't have to have a separate list. That is the list. And secondly, as far as insurance is concerned, all they have to do is to show proof of their insurance. And as a big company, as big publishing companies, they must have the kind of insurance we're requiring, or they wouldn't be able to distribute to the other HOAs around the area. So,
Or private
all I
customers
can
for
do
that
is-
matter.
Right, and we're waiting to hear from them. We probably will reach out to them, Maggie, and find out what's going on, because we want the phone books.
I would urge this committee to
This is another committee.
reverse the vote, or undo the vote and hold it over for a month until we find out. I know everybody's eager because I guess they think they're coming out next week, but and we can't say we'll keep breaking the wording of the policy because it's our custom. There's nothing in here to exempt them. There's absolutely no protection for us tomorrow saying no phone books, because that's what this says.
So, Joan, is there any parliamentary way we can do what Maggie suggests?
It takes a 2/3 vote.
No, what we can do is reconsider at this point. But someone who's voted for the motion has to ask to have it reconsidered.
I just did.
Make
I
a
voted
motion.
for it. Now I just asked.
You need to make a motion, Maggie.
Okay, I move that we reconsider this motion or table it. Which am I allowed to do?
No. You want to reconsider it.
Okay.
So that it be brought back next time, if you wish to do that.
I wish that the motion be reconsidered so that we can bring it back at the next meeting, at our next monthly meeting.
Can we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yvonne.
Okay, now we're going to need a vote on this, because I'm sure there'll be opposition. So let's see.
Chair Garthoffner, before the vote is taken, we do have some resident comments on here. I.
Go ahead, please.
All right. The first one is Elsie Addington.
Okay.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
We are voting on whether or not to reconsider. That is the vote. That is the motion.
Okay, no comment from the village then. Thank you.
Well,
sorry,
if
Grant.
it's a comment regarding the reconsideration, if it is a comment regarding the reconsideration, it's acceptable.
Elsie, is that what it's about?
Absolutely.
Okay, please go.
Okay.
Well, I wrote it all in the question and answer box, but basically it's I was also assured that this wouldn't apply to the phone books, but I agree with Maggie. It doesn't say anything about that in there, and I just feel like this is being pushed and pushed and pushed, and there's no way. What are we going to do? Go around and get everybody in the whole village to request? Yes, I want a phone book. No, I don't want a phone book. I do want a phone book. And I realize that you keep saying that's not what's going to happen, but that's not what the resolution says. That's number one. And these are the residents we're talking about. You know, it's like the residents want these darn phone books. And I can see if it costs $1 million, then forget it. But anyway, before I run out of time, the second thing I was assured was that this somehow was not going to affect the delivery of the Times, the Globe, and the Register. And I have received no evidence of that. I mean, I don't hear anybody speaking up and saying, oh, yeah, we found out that was a separate company that delivers the paper, and we've ascertained that they have insurance. I mean, clearly the subscription issue isn't at hand because obviously people are subscribing, and so they can be considered to have requested it as opposed to the phone book issue. But I mean, just one day, all of a sudden, nobody's delivering our papers because oops, the little company didn't have any insurance, and the little family that has been indefatigable in their commitment to this little village, delivering our papers every single day. I've heard no assurance of whether or not this is going to affect them, and I'm just really, really disappointed in the form this resolution takes and the swiftness with which it was passed by a board that I otherwise admire and respect a lot. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Elsie. Well, we did in fact not read the attachment too. Yes. Yes, John. Yes, John.
First of all, I think that we're voting on whether to reconsider or not. And in my opinion, yes, we should reconsider it because I think what Maggie's saying about putting an exception into the policy would be appropriate. So I would vote to reconsider.
Okay, but we're not going to reconsider it at this meeting.
Yes, you are.
Okay, we're going to reconsider, but do we have to vote on the reconsider? I mean,
you have to vote on whether to reconsider it or not first.
Yes.
And then we need to take a moment to say what it is we want to reconsider, and then put it back to the committee or originators to put that in for next month.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to reconsider. We have a second in Yvonne. Let's have a vote.
Chair Grothoffner, we still have some comments from residents if you would like to entertain those.
Go ahead.
All right. Richard Rader, I will move into panelist.
I want to thank the board for the possibility that they might reconsider. The point of the matter is that the points brought up by Maggie, Elsie, etc., are very valid. There's no reason why this resolution can't pass with appropriate considerations.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. We need to vote on the topic, which is to reconsider the motion or not.
I'm in support of reconsidering the motion
Okay.
for the reasons that I'm stating. And I'm saying that before you go ahead with this, I think you ought to go to the newspaper distributor to see if they're going to provide the appropriate insurance to their distributors. They should, but I think you need to confirm that. Otherwise, you pass a resolution that may cut us off from the Globe, the LA Times, etc. So for all those reasons, I think it is very appropriate to reconsider. And when you reconsider, you go and answer those questions, and then I think it should pass.
Well, that's what we're voting on now, so then we can put in the language for the reconsideration.
I think we should, I'll do it, but.
Okay, so let's take the vote now.
Okay.
So.
No, Mr. Chair, we've got one more thing.
Sure.
The paper. Neither the papers are not at risk for this. With this, they are all set. They have their insurance. They have their subscription list. Secondly, the phone book is what we're talking about, and they are still an exception because they are already.
Where?
Whoa! Wait! Let me finish, okay? And we can put that in to the policy just as an amendment right now. But we have to be able to reconsider, so we have to vote on whether to reconsider or not. Okay.
And that's what we're trying to do. So there's a motion to reconsider, and there is a second to that motion. So can we have all those in favor raise their hands? Yeah, that means you'll have to put your picture up. Okay, well, I see just by the persons that have put their picture up that we have a majority, and so therefore the motion passes. Now,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay. So let's reconsider. I'd like to make an amendment. I move that we amend. Oops. Sorry. Okay. The newspaper, first of all, before I make the amendment, understand that the newspapers are not a part of this. Why don't you call on Eileen? I'd like to call on Eileen Paulin to clarify, and then I will make an amendment to satisfy Maggie and Dick and everybody else is worried about whether we're going to get the phone books or not.
Eileen, would you like to request
Yeah.
on Joan's comment?
I'd be happy to. Good morning, all board members. I'm listening to the conversation, and I have a major concern, and that is I think you're missing the point. The point of the resolution is really not about insurance. It's about preventing unsolicited publications coming into the village that you do not want. And we understand very, very clearly the importance of the phone book. And I guess I felt that had been discussed so much that it was a given. Your newspaper's never at risk because the way this is written, it's you subscribe to the Globe. The Globe is not a gimme. It's not a throwaway publication. It's something that you pay. Let me just give you a little example of why I think this is something that's really important for you to consider. Just recently, a number of our residents received something opposing the Communist Party being eliminated. It was dropped. In fact, Director Millman got it on her front porch. These people did not obtain the permit to come in and distribute this information in the village, yet they did. So the purpose of this is just to keep people from stuffing your, front doorstep and your mailbox with things that you don't want or things that are of a nature that really aren't appropriate. And I can't make a comment on this, but this was something that raised, I'm just showing it to you, it's something that was delivered to us. It really raised a lot of serious concern. So the insurance clause, I believe, was really just added there out of a safety issue. It wasn't the point that we're going to, would stop Mr., newspaper delivery man. I think it's been shown and proven that the phone book is still something that a very large enough group of our residents really want to receive. All we're asking them to do is not what they did a couple of years ago, which was drop them in great big stacks in the middle of a rainy season, and they all just got sopped up and had to be picked up and tossed. We're asking them to just make the effort to get them into the mail rooms, get them into the appropriate places where you receive your mail. So I think we should reconsider this, and I think all we need is a sentence in there about the phone books to make everybody feel better. I apologize. Joan and I felt that because people's names were listed in there, and it was something that we knew fully well that they had requested, that it really wasn't necessary to call the phone books out. But I think for everyone's satisfaction, we can certainly reword that, bring it back. But I just want you to realize nobody's trying to stop anything that you subscribe to. And the Globe is very important to people in this community. And it was never anyone's intention to stop anything like that.
Thank you. Jim, you have your hand up.
It seems as though the purpose was to stop certain types of unsolicited distributions. And so I think we've conflated the stopping of that and put a lot of other structural things in its place, like insurance, like we've thrown out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. All right? And so maybe there's a better set of words. The wording should be considered so that we don't do that. But it's really difficult to carve that intricate balance between, quote, freedom of speech and a private community. And that's maybe what we need to do in order to reconsider this. We perhaps need to take another, not do it now, but do it at the next meeting so that we can get the wording correct, given our intention.
Thank you, Jim.
Then we probably need to take another vote on this resolution and not pass it at this time and send it back. I move, okay. Now, you can argue with me. I'm going to move that we send it back to committee to make the appropriate changes.
Yeah, a second for that?
Oh, I'm the second lady.
Okay, Yvonne, thank you.
So the vote is to send it back to committee or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, can we have a show of hands as yes, send it back to committee?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I have eight of the people that show their faces, and Don is still camera shy. Thank you all. So the vote passes. We will send this resolution back to committee.
And then I would just ask Maggie, and I think Maggie's there anyway, but Dick, you're always good about coming to the MACC meeting, but if anybody has specific interest in this, please come to this month's meeting, because if we could get the wording all worked out, then we can get this so that we won't have to spend as much time on it next time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank Richard and Elsie for speaking up and articulating their views on this so that we can get this right.
Dan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm listening and rewarding. I would like to see that you specifically include the phone book and the newspapers, including Globe, by mentioning their names so that we do not have any confusion. The wording is so general that it can be any publications. I think if we can separate those things that we need by the residents here. So
we can see. Yeah, go ahead.
While you are rewarding, I would like to keep this in my mind. Maybe Eileen can take care of that before it comes to the board again for consideration. Thank you.
The problem with that is there may be several hundred publications, and we don't know how many there are. Yes, Joan.
Gan, if you'd send just what you said to me in an email, I'd appreciate it because I'll bring it up at the meeting.
Very
So
good.
that's
Thank you.
I will do.
Melvin.
I will do.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let's see. We never did get to the display that deals with the finance committee and the treasurer's report. So do we have that now, Grant?
Yes, one moment.
Okay.
Ah, wonderful. You all hear me? Okay. Slide 1. This is the Golden Rain Foundation financial report. And through the reporting period ending February 28, 2021, the total revenue for GRF was $6.9 million compared to expenses of $6.5 million, resulting in a net revenue of $384,000. Next slide, please. Okay. All right. As you know, in finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results, and that is the operating fund without depreciating. This shows a favorable variance of $353,000. Next slide, please. This next chart shows the same actuals, but compared to budget. GRF ended the period better than budget by $11,000. Next slide, please. This slide shows our most significant variances by category, with the green bars representing the favorable variances and the orange bars representing the unfavorable variances. On the favorable portion, employee compensation and related expenses are $383,000 favorable due to the facility closure and limited services during the COVID-19 pandemic. The impacted areas were primarily in general services, information services, and security services. That variance was partially offset in recreation by a payout associated with the separation of a tenured employee and the budget assumption that recreational employees would not be brought back until later in the year. Of course, they're being brought back slightly earlier. So limited employees were brought back to staff to open certain amenities. The operating expense was $69,000 favorable due to continued closure of the facilities. And primarily that impacted training, uniforms, pest control, recruitment, and staff support. The community events expense were $40,000 favorable due to the facility closures. In the unfavorable category, the unrealized loss on AFS investments was $290,000 unfavorable due to the adverse conditions of bond investments during the reporting period. This is a monthly entry made and reflects the investment in market conditions, which we know will fluctuate. Broadband services were $84,000 unfavorable due to less ad insertion as a result of COVID-19, causing advertisers to spend less when residents are staying home. When residents are staying home. Also, this was further lowered by the premium channel and equipment revenue. Outside services were $72,000 unfavorable due to movement of the IT budgeted expenses in professional fees and unbudgeted malware expenses. Miscellaneous revenue was unfavorable by $56,000 due to less fees collected during facility closures. And that included photocopying fees, auto decal fees, traffic violation fees, and additional occupant fees. Next slide, please. As you know, we have sources of revenue other than assessments, such as fees and rentals. To date, we have received over $1.6 million, as shown in this pie chart. By category, we can see that our largest revenue is broadband services. And of course, that's the internet, set-top boxes, premium channels, etc. This is followed by the trust facilities fees, okay? And that's the $5,000 fee from resales. And of course, miscellaneous revenue, including golf tee fees, merchandise sales, and interest income. These revenues offset costs and keep our assessments down. Next slide, please. This pie chart shows expenses to date of $6.5 million, which include depreciation. As shown on this pie chart, our largest categories were compensation, depreciation, cable programming, insurance, professional, and legal fees. Next slide, please. This next slide shows our resale history. As you can see, community-wide sales total 135 units. That's up 28% from last year and the year before. Most of these transactions, by the way, generate the $5,000 trust fee. So we are progressing nicely for this year in resales. Next slide, please. Okay. The reserve and contingency funds adjusted balances are shown below. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds have a combined ending of $29.6 million. Included in this totals are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facilities, and interest earnings. The second column shows the work in process of $5.1 million, reflecting amounts paid for projects not yet complete. The third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balance of $24.5 million. Next slide, please. When we compare our adjusted fund balance to historical balances for the past 5 years on this next chart, we show that GRF has averaged about $24.5 million in the reserve and contingency funds. Next slide, please. The listing on this next slide gives you an idea of where the reserve money is committed. As you can see, we have committed $15.4 million, and we still have another $11.7 million to spend. And that basically is an encumbrance on the $24 million that we saw in the previous chart. The next meeting of the Finance Committee will be April 21, 2021 at 1:30. It'll be a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Chair Grothauthner, you are currently muted.
All right.
Also, Chair Grothauthner, we do have a resident comment from Richard Rader, if you would like to entertain the comment this time.
That's specifically on the treasuries?
I'm not sure
On the financial report?
I'm not sure the exact nature of his
Well,
question.
we'll entertain a question from on the financial report, but nothing else.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was an error. I have no question.
Okay. All right. So next we have the Strategic Planning Committee. Director Pearlstone update from the committee. The committee met March 17th, 2021. Next meeting to be announced. Director Pearlstone, please.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. First of all, let me apologize for not being able to get on the screen. Dealing with what appears to be a fairly serious back injury over here, so not in much of a position to get to the setups when you're asking. But anyway, the votes were consistent with what I wanted to do, but I wanted to apologize to everybody for that. The Strategic Planning Committee met in March, and I'm really pleased to report to the rest of our board and the community that it was a super productive meeting. We all agree that the long-term planning is really the most critical thing for the village if we're hoping to see many areas evolve cost effectively, technology wise, and most notably the first one we've chosen to work on service wise, making sure we get good service for our residents for their various questions and concerns. And the reason I say it's gone so well is there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been some people who are skeptical, some people who are cynical, some people who are really supportive of the idea of trying to be progressive. So we're finding a balance, and in every meeting, I think this is our third meeting, we've been able to move to the next step with consensus, which is why we created the committee to begin with, was to find consensus among all our boards on what really matters for us long term. So we left our staff with a 60-day timeline to develop a technology plan combined with face-to-face human customer service that would solve 90+% of our residents' questions and concerns efficiently. It'll set some benchmarks within 10 years. So ideally, if everybody put a visionary hat on and said, what do you want it to look like 10 years from now, you'd expect technology to play a huge role. So we've asked our staff to use their normal planning meetings. We're not imposing on staff time in any way, shape, or form, and they've been asked to tell us if it does become burdensome on their time other than the current help they're offering. But they will be looking with a vision instead of simply solving problems on an ad hoc basis, like here's a fire, let's put it out, and it doesn't really give us a long-range solution. Find something that can really be phased in, built in, and give us a solution for allowing our residents to feel like they can communicate, use technology effectively, and if technology doesn't work, immediately have access to humans that will care and take the time and help them get resolution. So we have other things on our list, but I wanted to share that because I think it benefits everybody in the entire community. And we will be having a meeting most likely in May based on the feedback from staff if we've got results ready to evaluate. But I left the meeting feeling encouraged that we are all trying to find answers we can all live with, and I think the committee seemed to support that. So hopefully the progress will continue.
Thank you, John. Any comments from anyone?
Yes. Stay well, John.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
I think I'm up next with the CAC. You just want me to jump into it, Egon?
Yes, please. Go for it.
Okay. So on a similar note, the CAC is trying to do some big picture planning that is well overdue in addition, without trying to get into the weeds of every thing in the entire community. The one thing that's always been questioned, and there's been committees and a lot of work on it, is fees. We're a shared cost community. How do you make that work where it feels fair to residents, but also respect the fact that if we don't find the revenue somewhere, it just ends up in our assessments. So we've been working for months now, and I just want to, again, take my hat off to our staff for great responsiveness, great information. And then I've been reviewing it with members of the committee and bringing updates to the committee. But a financially disciplined approach to determining what our current costs are per activity. So we've got some new metrics we'll be sharing at the next meeting to show real dollars over a 3-year average of what the various activities are costing our community versus the fees that are being collected. And then we're going to talk about how can we make the activities cost effective, keep fees under control, but also not just absorb increase after increase after increase as a community where now everybody just ends up paying more every annual assessment just to maintain the same activities. We're hoping there are better answers out there, and I think there are. So that is coming. We've got a presentation ready to go for this week's meeting. So I can kind of stop there and just say, if you want to see where we are on this process, come to the meeting Thursday. You'll have an update. We'll show you the vision of where we're going, and certainly welcome your feedback. It's an open meeting. I'll finish my comments on the CAC by saying there was a bit of an adversarial or controversial topic that came up during the meeting regarding golf and equity and fairness in tee times. And I walk away from that situation feeling very good about the way the community operated. We had a huge turnout for the meeting. There's a lot of very concerned residents about these issues. We created an orderly process by which to hear people's views. We asked them not to repeat themselves. For the most part, they respected that. The committee was confused, in fairness, at first, simply because there was just so much information to absorb. But, we kept listening to feedback. We kept communicating. And by the end of the meeting, we found a solution that seemed fair and reasonable to everybody, which ultimately, and again, the entire issue was what to do during COVID. And so we found a stair-step solution that we implemented during COVID to leave the club schedules alone, but to alter some other people who don't have official clubs for now. And interestingly, we've heard updates that it's already resolved itself for the most part because the COVID restrictions are being lessened, and so times are more readily available. But I will leave you with this thought, and that I thought was the most positive for the community, and that is there was a group of individuals that wanted to meet and talk about how to solve this long term. And so we identified an issue, and now I know that Tom, who's running the golf operations, is meeting with various components of the golfing community and is going to be presenting long-term solutions for how to deal with this when COVID's long behind us, please God. So, as I said, nothing's ever easy when there's differences of opinion, but I defy you to find a more organized, structural way to walk through that and come up with an answer that's now being a long-term answer evolving directly from that meeting. So that's quickly what happened on CAC, and hopefully that issue will lead to a long-term successful solution. Other than that, we'll see you Thursday if you want to join us.
Thank you, John. Sounds very interesting. Dan, you have your hand up. Do you have a question? Can. Okay. So we'll move on. Under the CAC, there is the Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee, Director Horton. The committee met on March 4th, next meeting to be announced. Director Horton, do you have a report for us?
Well, yes.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to talk about Help the Herd. At the last meeting, we'd already collected $5,185 to help our GRF horses, and that's to buy special things that the horses need. And a real big shout out to the Art Association Club who, through their membership, they donated $2,000. And we really appreciate that. Also, the Equine Assisted Learning Program, which Mr. Gruner touched on a bit. Director Brown is working with the Equestrian Center in reviewing the risk management on that. The other things that I know that They kind of coincide with my next report, which would be the landscape, is the rat abatement, and they're working on that. And I did want to mention that, you know, all of our lesson horses or our GFRF horses are seniors, let's put it that way. And we've lost, over the past year, we lost 4 horses, and we've replaced 2, but we need a couple more to fill in the gap. And one of the problems is that with COVID, horses have gotten very expensive. So I think we're going to give it a rest until after the COVID comes down, and there'll be more horses available. Also, Lori wanted to paint the inside of the stalls to brighten them up, and I was able to go to the supplier for Laguna Woods, and he donated 20 gallons of paint to complete that project over there. And that's about all.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Okay, so let's have a report of the Landscape Committee. Director Horton.
Again,
updated,
me.
Again, you. From the committee met March 10th. Next meeting is May 12th at 1:30 p.m. It was will be a virtual meeting. So what happened March 10th?
Well, Kurt told us they're starting to put annuals around the gate, and you know that the landscape department and the equestrian center is been working together to get rid of the rats, and also they've been planting trees over for shade for our horses over at the equestrian center, and really bringing it up to its former glory, I guess you would say. And it really is looking nice. Also, we got an update on the creek, and we're following the federal guidelines for keeping the brush cleared on the creek. If we want to cut back any more, well, then we have to buy credits from the government, and that would cost millions of dollars. So we spend $13,000 twice a year to remove those cattails. So we support that because the people that live in that area really get a lot of pleasure, and the people that go over to the creek, a lot of pleasure listening to the babbling brooks going through our park there. I have no other comments.
Is there a question, Gan? You have your hand up. Okay.
I do not have any question.
Okay, thank you. All right, report of the Maintenance and Construction Committee. Well, the Maintenance and Construction Committee did not meet last month, so there's no report on that. We will meet this month, next week. However, we did do one thing that has to do with the Maintenance and Construction Committee, and that is we toured Building E, the building that has got certain kinds of damage, and we toured that building, and we discussed it, and we will certainly move forward on that, and we'll try to work out a reasonable plan to work on that building. So I did not see Bert here, so is there a report on the clubhouse renovation ad hoc committee? Yvonne?
No, I don't have any.
Oh, no, you just suddenly came up. Okay. So just to sort of summarize what went on, is we went in and we discussed at some length what the language should be and what we're trying to establish, what we're trying to have people do to figure out, the usage pattern of Clubhouse One, and then the question came up: the usage patterns of other clubhouses. And I should point out that Sue Stevens sent me an email suggesting that we were in some respects possibly stepping on the toes of the Strategic Planning Committee, and we'll have to discuss that with John, because we certainly don't want to do that. My personal feeling on the usage is we have a fine department here called Recreation, which rents out all the rooms. They know every room that's rented, when it's rented, and what. And part of the verbiage that was in the RFP was, we're going to have these people sit there and watch how many people show up in the rooms and see if they're overcrowded or undercrowded or whatever. And this, to me, is something you could do if you wanted to, but first of all, it isn't going to happen this year. And maybe it'll happen next year, but it won't be representative. So I think, I don't know how Bert will go along with this when he comes back, but I think we rely on Brian Gruner to give us some really hard and fast information on how these things are being used, and then we make some of our plans going forward from there. Okay, then the next thing on that is the Energy Solutions Committee, Director Stevens, please.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things to report. We are, as I think most of you know, we had one company come in and for no cost, they did a rough analysis of the feasibility of a microgrid in our community. And now we have two additional well-known and respected companies who have also agreed to come in and give us their thoughts. And I think that's important from the standpoint of educating us about what all the different alternatives are and the state of the art. This is moving quickly. This microgrid concept is evolving, and it's important that although it's important that we take advantage of any grant funds or other sources of funds in the process of developing a proposal for a microgrid or a proposal for getting more information on microgrids. We also, as time moves on, things change. And so we're kind of dealing with that. And then on the EV charging front, I don't think that the Energy Solutions Committee is going to be able to advance some recommendations on taking advantage of SCE's Charge Ready 2 program, which could be a very valuable resource for us. For the first time ever, Southern California Edison is offering to install the infrastructure for new EV charging. But there's an application process and other work to be done. So I think that because there's no staff report for the Energy Solutions Subcommittee, I think it's important that the EV charging project, if you will, be moved to the M&C committee so that we can advance that effort. Did anybody have any questions on the report? Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much, sir. Report of the Meeting Communications Committee. Director Millman, update from the committee. The committee met on February 22nd. Next meeting will be April 19th at 1:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting. Director Millman.
Thank you, Chris. The next meeting, as you can see, we're going to be discussing the publication distribution and amending the policy to be more complete. So be sure and come at 1:30 on April 19th. And that's our highlight at the moment for next meeting. So please come in a couple of weeks, April 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Millman. Report from the Mobility and Vehicles Committee. Director Tibbetts, update from the Mobility and Vehicles Committee. The committee met on February 3rd and is next scheduled to meet tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting. Director Tibbetts, please. You're muted, Don.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay, so we didn't have a meeting last month. Our next meeting will be tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, and that's about it.
Thank you, Director Tibbetts. Okay, now we have a report from the Security and Community Access Committee. Director Tibbetts, update from the Security and Community Access Committee. The committee met on February 22nd. The next meeting will be April 26th at 1:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting. Director Tibbetts, please.
Okay, there again, we didn't have a meeting, and our next meeting will be this month on the 26th at 1:30.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Director, the report from the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Director Stevens. The task force met on March 30th. The next meeting will be May 25th at 9:30 as a virtual meeting. Director Stevens, please.
A few items of interest. Tom Sevilla led the meeting because Chief Rojas was out of town. And we had a good discussion about backup generation. As a representative of the Energy Task Force, or pardon me, the Energy Subcommittee, we've been trying to find out which of the clubhouses has backup generation. And we know for a fact that Clubhouse 5 does because I've seen it. And we know the community center has it. Well, from a disaster preparedness standpoint, it's important that if you're planning on having locations where individuals who have to leave their homes, you have a place for them to go. And the answer we kept getting was, well, it's all the clubhouses. All the clubhouses will in some fashion be available to house people. So finally, Tom responded to my question, and it turns out he looked it up, and there are only two clubhouses that have backup generation, and that is Clubhouse 5, the one I saw, and then Clubhouse 1, which is currently, I don't know if it would even be used for some time, depending on how the current project at Clubhouse 1 goes. So we really currently only have one clubhouse where people could go in an emergency. So we're looking into that. We're also checking into the backup generator at the security building because it is scheduled for replacement due to an assumption that it's end of its current life. And I was able to find an industry expert on backup generators, and I think we may have a solution to keep that going in light of the fact that we'd like to get the microgrid up, and that would be a major location for the microgrid. If we bought another generator now, it would be a duplicate, could be a duplication. And the minutes of the last meeting for disaster preparedness were attached to your agenda packet, and I just want to note we have to make one correction. The person who wrote the minutes misunderstood what I said and said that we had received 2 bids. We have not received any bids with regard to the feasibility of a microgrid. The studies that are ongoing are being done at no cost to the village. And that's all. You already stated the next meeting, March 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Stevens. Okay, Software Research Group, Director Hopkins.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
You skipped H1. the report from the traffic hearings.
Oh, I apologize. You're absolutely correct. Let's get the report from the traffic hearings, Director Horton. The traffic hearings were held on March 17th, 2021. The next hearing will be April 21st, 2021 at 9 a.m. and at 1 p.m. if necessary as virtual meetings. Director Horton.
The meeting was held, but nobody showed. There was only one person that was supposed to show up, and she didn't show. So the meeting was canceled after 15 minutes.
Okay. I think that happened last month, too. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's get on to the item J, the Software Research Group. Director Horton, update on the research group. The research group met on October 2nd, 2020. The next meeting to be announced. Director Hopkins, please. Jim, you muted.
I see. We have not met since October due to the malware event. However, we are looking at reconstituting the ad hoc committee, as well as a GRF committee taking over some of the responsibilities moving forward. So we are moving on that. We don't have a next meeting just yet. We're in the process now of ensuring that we've got some staff to make that happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is future agenda items. All matters listed below are items for future board meetings. No action will be taken by the board on these agenda items at this meeting. The board will take action on these items at a future board meeting, and it turns out there are no items. So what we will do now is move on to director's comments, and we will follow that with a recess for lunch before we get to the open meeting. So are there any director's comments that you would like to make relative to the open meeting only? Put your hand up and I'll try to recognize you. We'll begin with Joan.
Good meeting, Egon. Thank you very much for taking the chair.
Well, thank you so much. Did you have a comment, Don? You got that little hand in front of your face. I don't know.
Oh, I need to put it down.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyone else have any comments at this time?
Good meeting.
Okay, thank you, James. So I'll tell you what, guys. It's 11:37, so 11:40. We'll reconvene at 12:15, and that should give everybody time for a nice high-calorie luncheon. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.